Okay, welcome to episode 72 to Overtime with Jared P. and Johnny L. Minus my main man, Jared P. today. But filling those big shoes will be our title sponsor owner, Jeremy Phillips of Elite Chiropractic Performance. Jeremy's been with us for the last 4 or 5 shows, I guess.
Yeah, we've been. I think this is probably my seventh, eighth show of the entire football season, but the last five or so straight. Yeah.
Beautiful. And we're ready to go. We're gonna cover our Power Five rankings, talk a little bit about what has happened to my Philadelphia Eagles. We'll just be a little brief on that because I can't take it anymore. Try to make sense of the rumors or talks of 44-year-old grandfather Phillip Rivers possibly signing with the Fluttering Colts. And we'll talk a little bit, maybe predict a Heisman Trophy winner for this week. So, but let's get in with our title sponsor, Jeremy. Just tell us a little bit about Elite Chiropractic Performance, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, name's Jeremy Phillips, owner, founder of Elite Performance Chiropractic. We opened up here in Greensboro in the fall of 2008, so we just celebrated our 17th year. We treat everybody from grandmas to athletes to high school athletes. We had a couple of the Grimsley football players in here yesterday who were moving on to the state title game this weekend against Clayton down at Keenan Stadium and UNC. So we're real excited about that. And we just keep people active, keep people moving no matter what their want or need as far as activity is. And we keep people functioning, hopefully, as pain-free as possible.
Nice. Very good. And you're located in Greensboro and Winston-Salem.
Yeah. Greensboro right here beside Village Tavern on West Ridge Road.
All right, let's get into our Power Five. And obviously, we're not going to hear Kansas City talk in any of our Power Fives today without Jared P., but we do miss him dearly. But tell us your number 5, Jeremy.
Number 5, they were idle this week, but I'm going San Fran still. They're still in my top 5. I mean, we got a juggernaut at the top of the NFC West division. I mean, everybody's talking about the Rams, but we got Seattle and San Fran in there, and I still like San Fran being in my top 5. I really do. I think they're getting healthier. I think they probably didn't do anything but get healthier with this open week they just came through. And, I look for them to finish the season strong.
Yeah, no, that's a good 5. Because
they got the Titans this week. And then they got the Fluttering Colts coming up the week after. Who knows what's going to be there? I mean, so there's 2 wins there. So, I mean, I think they're going to be, they could challenge the Rams for the division, but I think they're definitely a wild card team, at very least.
That division it's unbelievable. I got a couple. My number 5 before I get into it, and you can bring up a couple of these too. I got 3 teams looking into my Power 5, and I just wanted to mention them. One of them is San Fran, so you already covered San Fran. But Houston and Buffalo are really starting to look like they want to jump in that top 5 and make a move. And what I'm going to do with my Power 5 is just kind of go over schedule and what I think the records are going to end up with the last 4 games. But I believe Buffalo, who is still just looking in, will be 4-0 to end the season.
Mm-hmm.
But my number 5 is Denver. They got Green Bay, Jacksonville, KC, and the Chargers. I see Denver. I see them ending up the season, last 4 games at 1-3. I think they're going to start losing. I got a weird feeling. Green Bay's going to beat them. Kansas City's going to beat them. And I believe if the Chargers and Justin Herbert stays healthy, they'll beat them as well. So Denver's going to kind of limp into the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
I mean, but you still think they're going to be the division winner given the lead they have.
Yeah.
There's no way anybody can catch them. So, I mean, they may not play anybody against the Chiefs or the Chargers, so that may help the Chargers get in.
That's right.
Yeah.
No. So that's why I kind of think, that they will end up 1-3, but stay in that Power Five. And my number 4, I'll just jump to my number 4, the Seattle Seahawks. But again, again, this is just my opinion. They got Indy Indy's just, again, fluttering. The Rams, Carolina, and San Francisco. So Seattle's going to end up 2-2 in their last 4 games. Still be in great shape, but I just don't see them running the table or 3-1. I think they end up 2-2 with losses in their division to the Rams in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, that end of the last game of the season against the 49ers is at San Fran. Has the potential to be a shootout and be a final game that has some bearing, where everybody's got to play and could be a seed in the playoffs or something like that. I like them, Johnny. I like them going, as bad as I hate to say it, I like them going 2-2. They got the Colts in Seattle, which we know the 12th man, the upper Northwest trip is not an easy trip to make.
Yeah.
They got the Rams at Seattle. That's their last home game. Then they come to Charlotte and play the Panthers, and
that's a tough game.
That's a tough game. And, that game time is yet to be determined. But, when the Rams flew from the West Coast to North Carolina and had a 1:00 game, we saw how that affected them.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So, but I think they can sneak out another win there, whether it be against the Panthers, the 49ers, or the Rams. I think they finish out 2-2. I really do.
Yeah. Okay. Is that your 4?
That is my 4. That's why I comment. Yeah, that is my 4th pick.
What's your 3?
My 3 is Denver. I'm with you. I think, it could be a tale of 2 stories here. Yes, they could start losing, but yes, they could start sitting people because they know they don't have to win.
Yeah.
So I think that may play into some of their losses here. They could take advantage and get people healthy. There's 6 1/2 dozen there, how you look at it. Yeah, you sit people to get healthy, but then you also get them out of rhythm and they could build up some rust. It's kind of like having an open week when you're on a streak here. Why do you want to sit it out?
Yeah.
So, but I'm like you. I think their record will falter some, but we'll have to read into it then as to why. Who they set down. Did they play Bo Nix the last 2 games? But hats off to them. They built this much of a cushion. I mean, they can kind of take their foot off the gas here a little bit down the stretch.
Yeah. And, talking about, a lot of times the end of the season games, they don't count, a lot, and, they sit players. But I think this year is going to be a little different throughout the NFL, where, like you were saying, there's going to be some key games at the very end of the season. So
I think so. I think that Seattle 49ers game is one that sticks out to me quite a bit.
I'll be watching that one. My number 3 dropped from number 2, and they didn't even play. But my number 2 is my reason. Number 3 is the New England Patriots, and they got, it doesn't look that tough, but it is. Buffalo, Baltimore, the Jets, and the Dolphins. My prediction, again, my opinion, and New England fans are not going to like this. They're going to finish 1-3. They're going to lose to Buffalo. They're going to lose to Baltimore. And at the end of the year, the Dolphins, who are going to be playing for something, possibly, they keep winning. I think the Dolphins will knock off New England, and New England ends up 1-3, and then but they're still going to be 12-5 for the season, so they'll be good to go.
Hey, are you still rest assured they're going to be the number 1 seed coming out of the AFC?
I think so. I think because I think Denver, again, is going to lose a couple games, so I would have to say it's going to be between those 2. But I think the Bills catch up with them, so I don't know. Something's going to happen these last 4 games. It's been a crazy NFL season. I really believe December is going to be absolutely nuts and memorable.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they'll go 2-2 down the stretch. Again, if they do lose a third game, it'll be because that last game's irrelevant, and which may play in Miami's favor again.
Yeah.
I think they finished the year 2-2. To hit on Buffalo, and they're not in my top five, but you mentioned Buffalo. For them to win, they have to ask so much out of Allen. I mean, it's incredible. Now, he is a phenomenal player and so fun to watch. Particularly when they're playing at home in the snow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, two of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL right now played the other day with Burrow and Allen, but they just at some point in time, a commentator hit on it. I forget who they were, but they said it's just not sustainable for him to just have to put up those amount of numbers to win. It's incredible. It's incredible.
It really is. I mean, for a single guy to dominate a game like that, because it's not just that's the thing. It's not just throwing passes. I mean, his running, that one run he had, what was it, 40 yards or 30? I forget what it was. He gets it done. But it kind of reminds me of the Cam Newton days at Carolina. Okay.
Sure.
And Newton's years were kind of limited because of he did so much. And I don't want that to happen to Josh Allen, but he's going toward that way. But man, I as a fan, I want to see him continue doing what he's doing because it's fun to watch.
I mean, it's good for football for sure. Yep. I mean, he is fantastic to watch. I don't think anybody that's a fan of football could say, "Oh, I don't like Allen." I mean, he is phenomenal. I hope Buffalo takes a step back this year and says, "We got to get him some help. Like he needs a number one receiver or something." I mean, holy cow! Some of his guys are making plays for him. I mean, he's not doing it alone totally. I'm not saying that at all, but I mean, for him to have to rush for 2 touchdowns and throw for 3 for them to win, that's just not sustainable, I don't think.
But it's funny because these teams are, obviously keying on him, but they still can't stop him. So
I know. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is New England. I think they're definitely sitting in the driver's seat of the AFC. I can see where you're coming from down the stretch. I mean, they got Buffalo and Baltimore here. I think the key to the remaining part of their season is which Baltimore team shows up to play. But I think they're in the driver's seat right now. I got to look at their schedule a little bit more in depth because I saw this thing online, and it was last weekend, and it was basing on if the season ended right now, the playoff teams that are seated right now, the Rams were more battle tested than anybody by far. They had beaten six playoff teams and lost to 2 of them. If we took a snapshot and put the teams from last week, who makes the playoffs?
Yeah.
The Rams are 6-2, and the only other team that competed against them was like 3-1. And like New England had only played like 2 playoffs teams.
Yeah.
If we start, I mean, that's so, time will tell, but I mean, they've been surprising to me all year, so I don't put nothing past them. They seem very motivated. They seem to be having fun. They seem to be bought into Vrabel's system he's putting in there. So, but I look for them to probably go 3-1 or at the very least 2-2 down the stretch.
Okay. All right. And, they should, but I just got weird feelings about when I see Baltimore on that. Baltimore's got to do something right this year. They haven't done anything right,
I know, but they've been ate up with injuries, just terrible. Yeah. They're almost like the Lions of last year. The Lions had a better record at this point in time, obviously, but I mean they've been decimated with injuries, particularly on the defensive side of the football.
But Lamar looks he's not even close to being Lamar right now,
No.
So he obviously has some nagging injuries going on. I would think.
He's missed some time. Who knows what he's dealing with, minor injuries and having to play through and stuff. So it's tough. It's been tough sledding in Baltimore this year.
My number 2 jumped back into the Power 5 this week. This team they looked so good at the beginning of the year. They had a little bit of a lull, but they are back. The Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Their defense has always been there, and I still think maybe top 3 defense in the league, could be number 1. And their offense is kicking it in. Green Bay is a solid number 2 for me right now. They look like a Super Bowl team ready to play.
Yeah. If we go back in our series of podcasts, I think after week 1, you guys had me on here, and they were one of the top most balanced teams I had seen early on in the season.
Yep.
Offense was somewhat clicking, particularly well for being early in the season, which, as you know, offenses typically lag a few weeks at the beginning of the seasons and defenses pretty much dominate. But they were one of the most balanced teams. And, of course, they've had their fair share of injuries too, particularly with Jacobs. The last 3 weeks, he's been dealing with like a bone bruise in his knee and stuff like that. He looked back to form, or closer back to form this week. He broke off that phenomenal run in the fourth quarter for them. But, in the Bears, kind of like you predicted, they've kind of started to falter here a little bit.
Yeah.
But they were in it. They were in it.
Great game. That could have went either way. It could have went either way.
Exactly. And Caleb was trying to make a play there at the end, ended up, throwing off his back foot a little bit, throwing short and interception in the end zone. But, I'm not ruling the Bears out of the playoffs by any stretch, but Green Bay I'm anxious to see if that tie that they have on their record ends up coming back to haunt them.
It could. I think it's going to.
It throws me off looking at the standings and everything, because they're the only ones. Who they tie with, the Cowboys? Is the Cowboys, right?
So that tie could screw up the Cowboys and Green Bay.
I know. I'm anxious to see how that plays out, because I don't think we've ever seen that before.
I would have took a tie last night, but so our number 1, I would think we're both the same on the Rams. So they're the best team in the league right now.
But what's crazy is they're not outright winning their division.
Oh, they are. They are tied with Seattle.
They're tied with Seattle, but everybody's talking about the Rams and not Seattle. So that's what's crazy to me. Like, you would think about us talking about the Rams, at least me, the way I understood it, that they would have a cushion like Denver.
Yeah.
Like they're going to cruise into the number 1 seed, but they still got some work to do.
Yeah.
They got some tough games down the stretch and stuff like that to hold on to that number 1 seed in the NFC.
Well, they got Detroit and Seattle, and then Atlanta and Arizona. Okay. I got them going 3-1 to finish.
Okay.
I see Detroit. Detroit is probably looking up saying, where the hell did these Chicago Bears and Green Bay come from, man? Because Detroit was just so dominant last year. But I got the Rams. I just trust them. And you talk about balance of team. I think Green Bay is just below them as far as balance. And I see them finishing off 3-1 because I think they beat Detroit, and maybe they lose to Seattle just to make things interesting. But then they beat Atlanta and Arizona.
Yeah. If they win these next 2, then those last 2 are possibly irrelevant.
Yeah.
So if these next 2 are very important for them, and it's kind of crazy that you're looking at a 3rd-ranked team out of the NFC North Division giving you a tussle. But, I mean, Detroit depends on which team shows up, but they can beat anybody in the NFL.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. No, don't count them out. And, they're 8-5. They're right in the mix. And, I still think they're well coached. I kind of like I like their coach. But
I do too. I like Dan Campbell a lot. Yeah.
So. All right, well, we'll move on. Let me mention a couple of our sponsors. Estate Jewelry and Loan, something old, something new. Estate Jewelry has a great selection of new and estate jewelry, and you can really find a nice, unique piece in Brian's showroom. You can find them at 2511 Battleground Ave in Greensboro. Salsarita's Fresh Mexican Grill, located in High Point in the Palladium and in Greensboro in the Target Shopping Center on New Garden Road. It's got a food truck, catering, daily specials. You can go to salsaritas.com. We ordered from Salsaritas the other night, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was like it's like going to a really nice Mexican restaurant. We ordered takeout. The food was so good. And also 4Real24. It's real golf indoors anytime. Greensboro's premier 24/7 indoor golf facility offering iconic golf courses and state-of-the-art equipment. You got to check it out. He's over on Horsepen Creek Road and Battleground Ave. I went and hit some balls last night over there. The place is absolutely beautiful. Nice couches and chairs. It's very classy and just state-of-the-art technology. Really, really enjoyed it. And he is now open for business. Please tell Clay Jordan, the owner, that we sent you. And maybe he'll give you a little bit of a deal. Who knows? But it's a great place. It's called 4Real24 Indoor Golf. All right. Let's just give me your. I don't even want to start complaining. What is up with my Eagles, man? What
I think there's more to it than we'll ever know or they'll ever reveal in the media. I mean, the obvious thing you can point at is they're missing some key guys on their offensive line. I mean,
absolutely.
When they're healthy, their offensive line is arguably the best in the NFL.
Yep.
And their right tackle's been struggling all year. Their left guard went out last night. Their center's been struggling. I mean, so that affects Saquon's numbers hand down. So I think a little bit of them, I guess, trying to initially when they were kind of in the driver's seat of their division, as well as the whole NFC, I think initially they had Saquon on a pitch count and didn't want to bang him up down the stretch of the season.
Yep.
Well, then their offensive line got banged up, and so now Saquon's numbers are kind of irrelevant because he's playing basically with the second string offensive line. But I think there's something going on in the locker room there. I don't know. They'll never reveal it. It's shades of 2 years ago, which was Kelsey's last year.
Yep.
They got pummeled by San Fran. It was like Sunday Night Football, so I'll never forget. I was watching it. They couldn't do nothing right, and San Fran did everything right. And, McCaffrey had like 3 touchdowns, and it was just a phenomenal game. And then, and the Eagles were having a great season up until that game.
They were 10-1 at that time.
Yeah, and then they just went downhill completely after that, and nobody ever really gave any explanation as to what was going on there. It had to be something in the locker room. Something like, I don't know, there's just a stink in their locker room going on right now. I don't know if the players don't like each other, they're frustrated, or what. A lot of people have pointed the obvious finger to A.J. Brown, considering some of the under-the-table comments he said on social media and stuff. Yep. So it's hard to say, but they got something going on. And it's to me, again, outside looking in, to me it's more than just the obvious injuries.
Yeah. And I think they're just playing, not to lose a little bit, right now, obviously. But, you got – A.J. Brown, he was mouthy for a few games, and it just seems like now they're trying to get him the ball, and he drops the damn ball 3 times yesterday. I mean, he had two touchdowns that should have been touchdowns, and then he did catch the one, and they brought him back because of holding.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that call, but so a lot of that stuff going on, but again, the offense is still. They just don't know what to do, and it starts what you're saying with the front line, man. They are just, they're just hurt, man. They are hurt, and it's a whole different ball game. Plus, we didn't have Jalen Carter on defense, but our defense was off the I don't know how Justin Herbert survived that game last night. I give him kudos. He proved to me.
Wow. Dude, he had surgery last week.
Yeah, but I mean, he was getting hit hard.
I know. I mean, I saw a press conference this morning with Harbaugh, and they were asking about Herbert. He just stopped. Everybody was like, he's a superhero. He had surgery last week on his non-throwing hand, comes out there, and it's not like they were protecting him. I mean, he took shots last night.
7 or 8 sacks. Yeah.
Yeah. And hats off to him. He showed some grit and some toughness last night for sure.
Well, the key to him wasn't really his passing. He had the one big 60-yard pass there, but it was his running, and when he would do that, I'm thinking, boy, I remember when Jalen Hurts used to do that. I don't know why he doesn't do it anymore, but
he has some great pocket escapes and stuff coming out the front door and stuff. Yeah, he did some great work last night.
They're a nice team. So yeah.
And then they got the running back last night. I mean, he didn't have an exceptional game, but they at least got him back. He's missed the last 7 games.
Yeah. No, the kid from Carolina, isn't he? Yeah. No, he's a hell. He did what he had to do last night. So. Sure. But I'm writing them off. I think they're going to limp into the playoffs. They're not a playoff team, but they're going to limp into them possibly. And then just, this season is really a weird one for them. But all right, our next little tidbit here, real quick. Phillip Rivers, he's 44. He's a grandfather. He's got 10 kids, by the way. He's got 10 kids. 17 seasons he played in the NFL, and they're actually working him out. The Colts. I mean, can a guy come back and do it?
Hey, it's perfect timing. I just got the notification on my phone right here. They signed him.
No, they didn't.
It's
official. My gosh.
They have signed him to the practice squad. It's official. There has to be – I haven't had enough time to do research on it because I've been saying patience all morning after I heard the news this morning. There has to be a coaching lineage there. There has to be an old coach that he's played with, offensive coordinator. I got to do more research. It shouldn't be hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
But there's a connection there. I mean, obviously he used to play for the Colts, 4 or 5 years ago. But this is kind of weird because it starts his time clock over again for the Hall of Fame.
It does. And I'm sure he's okay with that. Why not? But what I mean, and I was always a Phillip Rivers fan. I thought he was fun to watch.
Me too. I've loved him since college. I'm not a North Carolina State fan, but they were fun to watch when he was at North Carolina State.
100%. Me as well. I mean, but 17 seasons, he's got to be in good shape. I can't wait to see him. I mean, for him to just come in back. I mean, this isn't coming back to, I don't know, some other
I don't think
job.
you sign him as a consultant. If you wanted his consultant, you just sign him as a consultant, a coach's consultant, Yeah. I mean, you don't take up a roster space for him. So obviously they're going to play him.
Oh, I love it.
I hope for the sake, he's 44, I'm 45. I hope for the sake of all of us, he goes out there and throws 6 touchdowns and runs for 3,
Well, so do I, but and obviously he probably won't play this week, but I don't know. Seattle plays him. Can you imagine him going against Seattle?
My goodness, I know. Against that defense, oh my gosh. But I just hope for, even if it's just a half, I hope we get. You remember when Brett Favre's dad passed away? And he had to play that Monday night, and his receivers were just catching everything. I don't think he threw an incompletion until the fourth quarter or something. It was crazy.
It was magic.
I hope we get that type of a mistake, at least for a quarter. Just let the old man have it for a quarter.
Oh my God! Or really pushing the envelope now is for him to come back, play the next few games, and keep them in the playoff race.
It would be amazing. That would be amazing. We've been joking, saying floundering, fluttering, here they go downhill. I read somewhere they would be only the 3rd team in the history of the NFL to start out 7-1 and not make the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
So, if they can put together a win or two with him, get him in, get him in and see what happens.
Oh, man. The NFL never surprises me, man. It's crazy. All right. In closing, let's, the Heisman race isn't a real exciting Heisman race, but there's 4 guys right now. Indiana's quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, Ohio State's Julian Sayin, Vanderbilt's Diego Pavia, and Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love. Not big, just those household names, well known and great players, but I'm just hoping the Indiana quarterback wins it because this Indiana Hoosier football story is really a fun story for college football. And they're 13-0. I would love to see him win it and them win the national championship just to break up all these other teams from all the past winners. What do you think?
Yeah, I think as bad as I hate to say it, because I came out on the short end of the stick in my career a little bit, because I hated this saying, "To the victor go the spoils." I was never on a winning team, so I lost out on a lot of accolades down the stretch of my career because to the victor go the spoils. But I do think it's warranted with this Heisman. Mendoza, they're the number one ranked team in the country. Obviously, battle tested and won the Big Ten championship over the weekend. I think he gets it. Pavi has done some great things in Vanderbilt. I've loved some of the stuff he's done there. They've made Vanderbilt a contender in the SEC, which we never thought would happen.
Yep.
But I think to the victor go the spoils here. I think what Cignetti's done in Indiana and Mendoza, I think you got to give it to him. I think he wins it hands down. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be a close race at all. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he runs away with it. But that should be fun. And I think the college playoffs will be fun, even though there's a lot of controversy going on. But what would really be crazy if Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame wins the Heisman Trophy with all this, he's not going to, but that would be interesting.
Well, you can look on the history of my Facebook. I have this Notre Dame stuff has always drove me crazy, and I can't believe how the ACC caved to them during COVID when they were desperate for a basketball schedule and joined the ACC. In everything but football. It's like, I've never liked it, and they've screwed up more playoffs than they've actually helped. You can look back on the history since they've been doing the playoffs. They'll get in one year, and then they'll fall on their face. And I think they got beat 31-0 one year by Ohio State, and never scored a point.
Yep.
And that situation has happened more so than Notre Dame being legit and contending for a national title. That's what drives me crazy about Notre Dame.
Yeah. And the AD was complaining about the ACC throwing them under the bus.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, then join the conference.
We saved them during basketball. I mean, they are still sitting back on their glory of being the only NCAA team with an exclusive TV deal. Obviously, somebody that makes decisions at NBC or founder of NBC was a Notre Dame grad. I mean, because let's be honest, they haven't done much since Newt Rockne. Let's be honest,
I know.
And I know it's tradition or whatever, but I loved it. You're not going to get in on clout. You got to play.
Finally, they put their foot down, because I just figured they were going to slide right in, just like, I'm sorry, and I don't want to get into this because we're kind of running short here, but Alabama getting in kind of upsets me a little bit, man.
Oh, but these are two different things we're talking about here. I didn't agree with Notre Dame getting in, and I don't agree with the way they're acting. I also don't necessarily agree with Alabama getting in either, and to that, and you really can't say money getting in because Alabama's got a ton of money and so does Notre Dame. So but yeah, I don't get paid to make those decisions. I don't try to make them, but I can give my opinion on them. I don't like either of the situations. No. I definitely don't like the way Notre Dame acted after the fact. They're going to take their ball and go home and not play the ball game. And I loved Vanderbilt's coach, which I've grown to like over this year. They asked him at his press conference if he didn't make the playoffs. They plan on playing that ball game. He goes, "Yes, we love playing football at Vanderbilt." I thought that was great. That was great. It was not just a subtle jab towards all the Notre Dame news or whatever. I thought it was awesome.
I'm glad he did it. I'm not anti Notre Dame, but they just the whole favoritism and the whole them having their own network, like yourself. I can't. That just bugs me, man. And they don't share that money with the ACC. I believe that not on the NBC thing.
Well, the agreement was, and you can tell by going back and looking at the schedule, the agreement was, okay, you're not going to join the ACC in football, but you have to agree. I think they have to play like 3 or 4.
I think it's 5 games. Yeah.
5 games a year.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they just join the conference?
Exactly. I know.
I guess it's the revenue share thing with the TV deal. That's all I know.
Money.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, Jeremy. Thanks for being on the show. Filling in for our man. I kind of missed him a little bit today, but
I know.
I think we carried.
But we didn't have to hear the Kansas City woulda, shoulda, couldas. He spared us with that.
That's good stuff, man. Great show, and I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. Go Phillip Rivers.
Overtime pay. We're talking the overtime play. The big stories, the big plays, the big drama. We got